So good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Monday night connection. We know that every week we're sharing, obviously revelations. I like to call it revelations because, obviously it's a wisdom that was concealed for thousands and thousands of years, and it's still there, but someone or something needs to happen in order to reveal it. And every week when we're coming to share, you have to remember it's not really, we're not sharing because of one particular person, or you is here, or that person is here, or that person is not here. It's nothing to do with people. It's nothing to do with who is going to hear and who is not good. Not going to hear it. It's important to reveal this wisdom because we learn in a cosmic way. Everything in a quantum way is connected. So whatever we reveal today, somewhere, somehow, a person, a vessel, somehow we will hear that wisdom or will awaken himself for that part of the spiritual work for them. So this is according to Kabbalah. Kabbalists always mention that our job is to reveal, right? If, it's like you bring someone to the water, it's their job to drink, so remind you that this is what part of our responsibility as listening to this wisdom as well is to just share it. If someone will open and listen, that's up to them. But that is a very important part that we want to connect to. In these weeks, like I said before, we started a new book, the book of Exodus. We spoke about last week. No, not to bore you with many details, but this is the beginning stage of what we call the process of the conversation between Pharaoh and Moses. In the desert back then, to bore you with also the stories, which some of us know, some of us not, there are, dealing between Moses goes and, with the plague. This is the week where we have the 7 plagues that was, down on Egypt. And we know that the conversation of Moses into Pharaoh. Now, of course, I don't want anyone to think for a second inclination that we're actually talking about a Moses or a Pharaoh who lived some thousands of years ago. We're talking about our Pharaoh and our Moses internally. What is it? This is 2 voices. Now, again, we spoke about it. We have different voices, our good inclination, our evil inclination. So now we put again different names. No. In every time we're speaking about our battle with our negative side, every time, for example, if you're reading about Pharaoh, it's a different state as opposed to when you're speaking about a different name that represents the negative side. In this case, in this process, we're talking about Pharaoh is a very much a place within us, because where is your negative side? Is it in your head? Is it in your heart? Is it in your legs? Where is it? It's all over us, right? And where is your positive side? It's all over you. It depends who you or what you use to conduct your life with. So now we're talking about Pharaoh. Pharaoh represents Paro. His name is Paro. It represents the Oref. Oref, it's the back of your head, which represents the back. You don't know what's going on there. Right? You don't know what's going on. So sometimes this type of negative side that we're dealing with in this process, in the next few weeks that we're going to speak about it, we're dealing with things that we cannot see that is damaging us. We're dealing with Moses, that is the internal voice that most of us don't even hear or avoid. We all have, this tiny little voice to tell us, hey, go to that direction. Say, no, I don't want to do it. Right? There's many things that happen. But let's understand, what does it bring to us? I wanted to talk about one specific topic today. Again, usually I'm bringing 65 points, or whatever. I because sometimes I can't hold myself from sharing this wisdom, right? So what we want to connect to 1 or maybe 2 points that are really, we can drive it home. What and why we get disturbed throughout our day. And I can tell you, anyone, there's nobody getting disturbed or interfere or interrupt? Anybody get interrupt when they talk? Anybody get interfere in their day? Anybody get, you know, like distractions throughout the day? Right. Obviously, if we have technology, people sitting right now listen to the class and might be on the phone, right? Or checking whatever, right? You get interfere, you call it notification, and you think it's so important in that moment. What is all this interference? What is all this disturbance that comes? Why it has to be this way? Why you can't just wait for your turn to talk and talk when I'm done? Why can't you just wait until I'm done here and then you're gonna, right? Get the parking. Have happened to you before? You're about to get out of parking and somebody blocking you because they want to catch your parking. So move, sir. I want to get out, right? So they want your space, but they disturbing you from going out, right? In so many ways. Some of them more, some of them less. Some of the big interruptions, some of them big disturbance, right? And some of them are a little small thing that bothering us so much. If you take the word disturbance, or I'll call it afra'a, right? Is disturbing me, right? The word afra'a is the same word as Paro, Pharaoh. It's a different way of pronouncing that. The numerical value for this is 360 because as you add that, you get the secrets of the 9, the number 9. Any disturbance in your day, in your life, whatever it is you call it, you need to know you're facing a big secret for you. A big secret that person is disturbing me in the traffic, or I'm trying to pass with the car and he's blocking me. What is the secret here? This guy is a stupid guy, right? That's why he's standing there. Or they don't know how to drive. That's why they're disturbing me. Nothing to do with what kind of secret? Within us, there is what we call a GPS, an internal GPS. Most of us know that, like, we know where to go. We know what, sometimes we have sensors, right? That how to do things, even without even knowing them. Any disturbance, any interference in your day, it's because it's a secret of how to make your navigation system much better. If I know how to navigate myself even better, like for example, how many times you trying with ways to find the traffic, and then you said, no, I don't believe them. I'm going to go to Google Map, and then I'm going to go to maps of this, and I go, right? We try in many ways, and all of them are stuck, right? All of them taking to the same way, but we try. Each one of us needs to understand that many of the disturbance shouldn't happen this way. Again, they're happening this way to develop within me a better navigation system, a different perspective, right? Because, like, for example, you're about to take a flight and there's a delay. Is it bothering you? Yes, because I need to have another flight. I need to catch a flight, a connecting flight in Amsterdam and to lead me to whatever, right? So all of a sudden everything gets messed up and my day is interrupted and and the schedule is interrupted. I'm not sure I'm going to catch the flight. What does it mean? So sometimes most of us get affected by that, get annoyed, get angry, get upset, get this, get that, or get superstitious, right? Oh yeah, it's about to crash, all kind of stuff like that, that people say. But in a way, if I don't see it, that interruption is the biggest way for me to adapt into a new situation, into a new dimension of the situation, into a new way of seeing that. Any interruption is meant to develop within me a new form of thinking, a new sight to who I am and how I do things. That's what it meant to do, right? Because I don't do it proactively. I don't learn to develop a sensory, like spiritual sensory, or tells me why everything happening or not in my life. So therefore, it comes in form of disturbance. Again, let me go a little bit more there. First of all, there's a prerequisite into everything that's disturbing you. One thing we should understand: no one is there to disturb you. Spiritually, no one can dare disturbing our day or our desires or our, what things that we do. Only the Creator himself. It's a rule. No one can interfere in your process of correction. Nobody can interfere in your day. The Creator is the only one who can interfere. So it comes from above. It comes from a higher place. Why? It's a very simple structure. If you understand, bless you, cause and effect, vessel and light, right? What comes first, right? Or if I ask you a very important question you should have, what comes first, the vessel or the light? Sit with that, right? They call it the chicken and the egg, right? But what comes first? Is the desire or the light, right? Most of us falling to what we call this reality, and we will say, yes, the desire comes first, the vessel comes first. Absolutely wrong. Absolutely wrong. The light, the energy, the fulfillment has to come first. Therefore, any interference cannot happen in your day unless the Creator is involved and moves things around. Let me tell you why. A vessel is a receiver. A vessel is influenced by what feels within him. Let's say, for example, this is a vessel, my friends, right? Well, we have few beautiful friends here, so we want to share. This is a vessel, right? Now, the vessel is without anything inside. It cannot influence anything, right? Even if you put something inside here, that's what will influence, not the actual vessel, not the actual cup. So therefore, any situation that appears, something disturbing me, something bothering me, something moves me out of the way, it's already happened. Because it's already happened, I need to look at that as like, okay, this is a vessel. This is an effect. If I'm reacting to this effect, I become the effect of an effect. I hope that's clear. It has to be very clear for you. We meant to come here and to become the creator of our life, the cause of our life. We never meant to become here, to coming here and being vessels who like, oh, sit here and do that and pray this way and go this way. Yes, as a child until a certain point. But we never meant to be controlled by anything beside the light of the Creator. Us as a vessel, if something is bothering me today, or something happened that disturbing me, or the flight is this, or the traffic, or whatever it is, I'm pausing and I say to myself, wait a second. I cannot be influenced by another vessel. That cannot be. Yes, people doing it, but it's part of the craziness that people live life. We cannot be influenced by another vessel unless we choose to, right? But you cannot unless you say, you know what, I want to be influenced by that and by this. Okay. Therefore, any disturbance, any outside of the comfort of the day, something that doesn't make any sense comes and disturbing your day, it's for sure the light of the Creator. It's something that really got and interfered the system, because something of my system is broken. So there is a great merciful energy that really want to take care of, because otherwise you will go in probably, in a direction that really doesn't serve your soul. So now we understand. What does it mean for me? If you think of the word praot is also disturbance, but praot is riots. Riots, sometimes you have thoughts that are like riots in your mind, right? They're coming, bombarding you, right? Praot and machshavot, thoughts, are the same numerical value, right? But you need to understand, you need to convert any thoughts of disturbance, any thoughts that are corrupted thoughts, or what we call it, like riots, like against, right? Thoughts against all the time. We have to convert it to a positive thoughts, right? Why? Those thoughts, this interference that comes through thoughts, through situation, they always want to take me into a dark place. They always want to take me into a lonely and very negative place, or finite place, right? But really to remember that the Creator right now interfering because the way I'm thinking is not so pure. So there's all kind of riots comes to my mind, all kind of protesting comes to my mind, so I can convert it into a clear, positive thinking, a direction of thinking. So now, let's move on to another step, and then we can connect to what does it mean to all this disturbance, all these Pharaoh that appear in this month, in this week. Now, I want each one of us to recognize that there is within us, right, some kind of, it's called, maybe it's false, but it's a place within us that maybe we call it security, maybe it's false security, whatever it is, but we have some kind of like this idea that we're not getting convinced so easily. You know what I'm saying? When I'm saying not convinced, meaning I'm not convinced yet that she or him are for me. I'm not convinced that that's what I need to do. I'm not convinced. What convinced you to come here to this class today? I'm not convinced about Kabbalah. I'm not convinced about my boss. I'm not convinced that. How many of you, right, had the interaction with your friends who convinced you to come to the party, right? There's a party going on. Can you come? I'm not sure. And then you need 5, 6 other people to call you to convince you, right? Or come to the family dinner. Oh, I don't want to go. And then you need your mother to call you, your sister to call you, to convince you to come, and all of that. Everybody is related to. We need to be convinced. Even now. Now I'm sharing here. I have beautiful people here. And I'm sure, no matter, even if you are here 6 years, 20 years in the study, there's a voice within me that still don't want to get convinced. I want you to recognize that. I want you to recognize that voice. You know who is that voice? In this week, comes Moses to Pharaoh and tell him, you need to let the Israelites go. And he says, I'm not convinced that God sends you. Pharaoh wasn't convinced, right? I'm not convinced yet that this is what I need to do. Okay, so Moses went, hit the Nile, bring blood, and then so forth, the frog and all of that. Right? The 7th plague. Every plague that happened, Pharaoh come to Moses and says, okay. I'm convinced I'm going to let them go. Just please stop with the plague. Moses goes, stop the plague. Instead of blood, now they have water. Everybody's happy. Moses comes back to Pharaoh. Pharaoh says, what? I'm not convinced. What do you mean not convinced? You just saw the folio country full of blood. You couldn't have any clean water. Yeah, it's a hoax. My magicians can do that, right? So I'm not convinced. Go back. Okay. Again, the same story over and over. Sounds familiar, right? How many of us went through that? Even if you went through 6 different relationships until you're convinced that this is the one for you, right? I need to be convinced. Or how many conversation people were with you until you get convinced? What else needs to happen in this world for everyone to be convinced that we need to transform? What else? Pandemic? I'm convinced a little bit. But then as soon as it stopped, people, okay, we can go. We go, you know, I was invited to go to an NBA game, right, in Brooklyn. And I was sitting there, and And like I saw all these people, and I said to myself, wow, this is the first event I went through after 3 years of the pandemic, like the basketball. And I was sitting there, I was like, wow, I wonder who of all those people is really so appreciating to be here that we didn't have it, that we couldn't have it for 2 or 3 years, right? Who? And again, I don't doubt some people for sure, but we got you, okay, we got it back again. Okay, done. Let's move on. We can't move on the same way. The world is not going to survive with us, right? Us not transforming, us not growing, us not revealing the light that we came to reveal here. Therefore, the Pharaoh always sitting in that place that he says, I'm not convinced. So now you know, anytime, again, I'm not saying that you need to be convinced about everything that someone tells you, oh, today it's not Monday, today it's Wednesday. Oh yeah, I'm convinced about it. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about the thing that is so obvious, right? But I'm talking about things that are good for us. Things that our people bring to our life that you know it's good for you. I'm not talking about many things. Let's start with the thing that you know they are good for you. What do you need in order to happen for you to be convinced? What type of plague, God forbid, chas v'shalom, someone needs in order to be convinced? How many people need to die until we get convinced? That's the corruption. That's what's bothering, you know, the whole thing. The whole problem in here that we not really, that we need to be convinced. What is the idea of not being convinced or being convinced? It's called להיות משוכנע. משוכנע, it's the word being convinced. Those of us who don't know, I know sometimes the Hebrew and the letters and all of this, but this is the way we can communicate with higher realm. Okay, so even if you don't understand, let it be. Okay, the word convince is משוכנע. If within that word there is also, you know, the word munah, which is movement, which is munah, which is a driving force. Driving force. So that force that needs to be our driving force to greatness, our driving force to become even more than what we are, is being used, right? The data, the memory of that power is being used to do what? I'm not convinced. Instead of, right? Liot munah, to be in movement, or to generate what we call a driving force. The same driving force that meant to take you tomorrow to greatness. You've been busy using that force, using that fuel. Imagine you have a full tank and you have to get to California, and you get to Ohio and you're like spinning around. What are you doing? You have to catch there. You're not gonna have enough, right? So again, these forces again that we're talking about, it can be used in two ways. That means a driving force for greatness, for bigger things, for extraordinary reality, or being busy using that same energy to people to be convinced. Like, let's say, for example, your parents invite you to dinner. Why you need someone to convince you? That's your Pharaoh. That's your you're burning up a fuel, a very expensive, necessary fuel for your soul, for your life, for your children to be, for your employees, for your business. To do what? To be convinced if I should go to dinner. Don't be busy with that. It's a waste of that precious energy, precious source that we all have. So now, what is the problem that I want each one of us to enter to the system, very, very strong, enter that system. If today you're using that force that I'm not convinced, right? I'm not convinced about that. I'm not convinced that there's light. I'm not convinced of this. I'm not convinced I need to change that. I'm busy using that light. Tomorrow you have an investor meeting. You set up an amazing presentation. The deal is amazing. You give an amazing price. And all of a sudden the investor says, we are not convinced about that deal. What? Doesn't make any sense. How many times you presented to somebody a deal that can change the world and nobody is convinced about that idea? Why? It's attracted the same energy. Because you need to be convinced by everything, or anyone need to convince you. Now tomorrow, the same thing is been given to you, meaning it's been done to you. When you want to convince somebody of a deal or buying that or going this, nobody will be convinced by you. So this is a part of your, what we call, necessity of transforming that, or at least start the conversation with that thing within you, with your little Pharaoh. Each one of us have a little Pharaoh sitting there and like, no, I'm not convinced. Again, if you start talking to this, what I want you to start doing is to surrender as much as you can in this moment. Again, start small. This is the key. Surrendering. Why? If you take the word in Hebrew, I'm meshuchna, I'm convinced, right? I'm not convinced, so I'm convinced. You take the letter shin out, you get the word muchna, which is I'm called defeated, but surrendered. I'm surrendering that need for proof. I'm surrendering the need to show me business, right? If you show me, I'll do it. If you don't show me, I'm not going to do it, right? If God will be revealed to me, I'll believe in him, right? All kind of nonsense like that. So when you are not convinced, right? What happened? What is the work that we want to do? As I said before, leikana. The same word without the letter shin. The letter shin represents the 3-column system. We spoke about them in many, many different Kabbalistic classes. But the idea that one needs to be developing a channel to funnel all this energy that comes through it. And if it doesn't, right, that energy is stuck. And when things are stuck and you are not being used as a channel, you have to be removed and somebody else will be used as a channel. Right? So obviously, there's few things we have to understand a little bit deeper. Why it's hard for us to surrender that Pharaoh, that little Pharaoh that needs to be convinced. I'm not convinced. Why it's so hard for us to? Why we need to have so many people start to convince me about something, or I need to change. Right? When you have to change something, you know you need to change something. Most of us are looking to depend. When it's going to be too much and then I'm going to change. The pain is going to be too negative, then I'm going to change. Or when it's going to be too aggressive, then I'm going to do something about it. Why do I need all those people to convince me? Why do I need all those cheering, right? How many of us need cheering people, right? To cheer you, to do this. Yeah, thank you. All kind of stuff like that, right? Where does it take us? We spoke about few ideas here, and I want to bring it home so we will have the order of how to look at it, right? The question should be not if I will surrender that convincing or mechanism. You have to be convinced about few things, not about everything. I'm not talking to you about that someone will come up with a stupid idea and you need to be convinced that that's a great idea. No. Or you're looking at someone and or something, it looks very ugly. I need to be convinced it's beautiful. No, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about elevation, growth, change, right? Transformation. We're talking about positivity. We're talking about being with the light. We're talking about that. I'm not talking to you about convincing you the chair is beautiful and this is ugly. That's not the point. But also, when things disturbing you throughout the day, interference. Now, what do you think it is? I'm so sure it's that blah, blah, blah. This person against me, this person doing it, they say, she said, it's manipulative. No, 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 no. I need to be convinced that this is the light of the Creator. This is the Creator himself interfering in my day because I'm in the wrong direction. I'm not growing. My navigation system is wrong. I forgot where's my north. I forgot what am I doing here? Therefore, the Creator is, most of us are walking dead. You know the show? What? Most people are walking dead. Only if there's something exciting throughout the day, they're waking up and calling 5 people to say that they're alive and something could happen. But most of the time, they're not. You look at people, there's no light in their face, right? So obviously, the Creator interfered. But what? I'm not convinced it's the Creator. I'm not convinced it's from the light. I'm convinced it's manipulation of the government. Oh, they listening to my conversation and they said, no. You can't go there. But what you want to do is in that moment, surrender. Surrender. You're in traffic, you're sitting down, you have a meeting or flight, something interfere, right? Or you're in a conversation and right? We are here talking in a spiritual level, and then your phone is texting. Your phone is doing what you call notification, right? It's not interference. It's somebody needs me, somebody needs. Yeah, but it's interference. You at that moment got disconnected, right? Who did it? The Creator to interfere you from the class? No. Also, interference is to the level that I need to be connecting to what I'm doing, no matter what interference comes. If you are in the right direction. So now we're doing something that is connected to the light, connected to revelation, understanding, study, spirituality, Kabbalah. It's a holy moment. So all my other interference right now, my little Pharaoh, want to interfere my day. Or you can say, but you said to me, it's the Creator interfere. Yes, to test you. In times like that is a test. Are you going to stay connected to that path, what you meant to do? When it comes to other things, let's say in your regular day, in your job, in your this, it's not really, you study or this. Sometimes I sit and study and there's like so much noise and that calling and that this, like I need to be able to be strong and stay focused on the study. But when it comes down to my work or with people or, relationship and all of that, most of the time we get interfered, we're getting upset. Now we have to understand any interference like that. What do we need to know? First, it's the light of the Creator interfering my day, want to make me much bigger, much stronger, and obviously fixing my navigation system. My GPS is broken. Otherwise, I wouldn't be in that place. Second is, I'm not convinced. So now I need to surrender. I need to surrender to the light. I know it's any interference is not, I don't want to be affected by anyone, by anything. I want the light of the Creator to guide me. I want to be guided by that, by what we call divine providence. I want to know how things working, right? So I'm not going to be busy in getting stuck. So that's surrender. That little surrendering is such a huge gift into your life. You know why? Because if you're not convinced and if you're not surrendering, guess what will happen? Right? Moses says, plague is coming. You're going to be convinced. You'll be going to be forced to be convinced or forced out of this world. Very simple. So better not to wait until it's going to be so, pushing you to be convinced that this is the energy and this is the light and this is the path for you and for your soul. You're saving yourself so much trouble, so much hardship, so much negativity that is unnecessary. Does Egypt, imagine Pharaoh, instead of 10 plagues, 1 plague, he said, okay, I got it, let them go. He saved so much hardship to his nation, right? But this is just the story we're talking about. So the question is not if you're going to be convinced and surrender. The question is when and how much it's going to cost you. How much pain is going to cost, how much money you're going to pay for that, how much people you're going to lose, and how much of your energy will be lost. Again, to be convinced with the light of the Creator, right? To be in charge over my life, it's great. But first of all, I need to know, if I want to be in charge over my life, I need to know what energy I'm using to run my life, to manage my life. Me and my ego. The light of the Creator won't let somebody just managing his life with ego. It will destroy. There's no place to a lot of ego in this world. So now, if I just choose a reality that serves only me, slowly you will see that there's going to be a lot of interruption in that person's day. But if I know exactly what I'm doing, where I am, where I'm going, what I'm doing in the morning, how I'm connecting in the afternoon, what I'm doing in the evening, what I'm doing in every meeting, I have consciousness in everything I'm doing. No interference. There's not going to happen. And every disturbance or whatever it is, it's another layer of the Creator is involved and help me, be better, right? So again, if we understand that, that's great. But this is the last thing that that we need to really awaken, is to remember that this same force that you're using to want to be convinced, I'm not sure, let me think, let me this, so long, right? That same force meant to be used for greatness, right? To awaken such a great inspiration for yourself, miracles to your life, right? To bring a new revelation, a new you. But what do? You use that same energy to completely put that, waste of time or dealing with your Pharaoh. And the last thing is, of course, I just want to finish with that, is, okay, if I'm not convinced that I need to have or I need to be on a spiritual path, this world, my friend, it's a world with an expiration date. It's a world that is allowing you to be, guided by so many forces, not by your ego and by your smart idea. So what you're meant to do is, first of all, is to find your path. What is your spiritual path? And what is a spiritual path that fits you? First of all, that no one will control you. It's a path that walks with you in wherever you are, in your level, right? Because if you think about why all of us, or most people in the world, don't want to go back to religion, because because all what they ask me is to believe. That's it. Over. What am I doing here? Oh, believe in God, believe in God. But I'm believing, but life is in chaos. I don't understand. Right? So it's not enough. We need tools, we need improvement, we need consciousness of everything. We need many ways to connect. So what is your path and how do you know? One is that one that walks with you, not is up there and you are so low and it's not connected, giving you all kind of slogan. No. Path that can guide you from the beginning, from a beginning stage, to grow and gradually to bring yourself to the levels that you're meant to be in this world. Second thing is many universal spiritual law. Every law that we share in Kabbalah, it's build a spiritual muscle that you can handle more. You can handle more pressure. You can handle bigger projects. You can handle being a leader. You can handle when things not happening, and you can handle when things not happening. That's what it builds. Every rule and law, like we spoke about today, this is a spiritual law, right? We spoke about the surrendering and all of that. So you have to be able to have teachers, friends, community. We all need that. We all need it because we can't be alone. Alone doesn't get you anywhere. anywhere. Even if you're going to be your own business owner, you still need people. You still need team of people. Something that's surrounding you. And this is how you influence. But the main goal in your path is education, how to be the creator in my life. That's the education. And this is what you don't have to be surrendering to someone or something. Oh, you have to be, surrender all what you have and all the me, all the you into that submission. No. I'm not talking about that. It's surrender your ego, surrender your, what we call the Pharaoh, right? That doesn't want to be convinced in anything. That's the only thing you want to surrender. And the rest, you have all the light for yourself and for, obviously, to be used for greatness. So obviously this is this, I have so many other lessons, but I will keep it in that for this week. Thank you so much. Please share it, spread it, and I hope to see you next week.